Hello and welcome to Differential Discussions. I'm Melissa,
And I'm Dave.
and we're back with another of our Serous fluids.
This one might be spicy too.
It might be spicy, like buffalo spicy.
I've been kind of getting into hot sauces lately.
Oh, all right.
Yeah. Hot Ones is a really fun show.
Oh,
And
that is, yeah.
they have delicious hot sauces.
They do. Yeah, they do.
Anyhow.
Anyway, we digress.
All right. So we're
Yeah.
at our low power objective.
Yeah.
Start doing a little bit of a scan around, see if we can find anything that looks concerning, which
There's some
looks like,
mononuclear clumps.
yeah, mononuclear. And like what I don't like about what I just pointed to too is the NC ratio. So the one of the cells looks pretty large and most of it is nucleus,
Yeah.
which is not good. That's
Right.
almost never normal.
Right.
Um,
But we'll look. We'll
but
see what
yeah,
we
yeah,
come from.
yeah. I'm gonna feign ignorance. Kind of a bloody one, a lot of red
Oh,
cells.
yeah. A nice distribution.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there's a nice big cell here with, again, mostly nuclei.
Yep.
Right
Yep.
there. It looks like there's another one there.
I'm
They're not quite as grouped and dark and ugly though as some of the other serous fluids we've looked at that had like
sure.
concerning cells. Usually the concerning cells are like in
Yep.
your
Yep.
face.
Yep. So we're looking at body fluids. So these are effusions, and frequently when malignancy is involved, it's a malignancy of tissue cells, which means that you'll get these big clumps of tumor. Um, so some of the cells we're seeing
Sure.
are a lot are solo. So could they still be tissue cancer cells? Yes, absolutely. But
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times with these tissue malignancies, yeah.
Well,
Cool.
because the other thing is sometimes they're not tissues, or
Yeah.
sometimes they could be more of like malignant leukemic cells or
Yep.
lymphoma cells that can sometimes act like leukemia cells. So it
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily have to be a tissue, and that might just be what we're looking at.
Yeah. So like when it comes to um lymphomas, leukemias, um, one of the most dangerous parts of their malignancy is how easy the metastatic process can be, right? They're already
Yeah.
on the highway all over the body, and then they can get in some really wacky and weird places. So yeah, so we have like a really interesting pattern of the red cells. So I just want to
Hmm.
talk about that a little bit. They're very like smushed and stuck to each other.
Yeah.
And I think that's influencing this blue. That's kind of around the cells. So that's neat.
Yeah,
Uh,
it makes it harder to interpret because is it a big ugly cell or is it a squished cell?
yeah, exactly. So in terms of like a lot of the cytoplasmic appearance, I gotta kind of be like lenient
Yeah.
somewhat of that particular finding. One cell I want to focus on right now a little bit is this one at the top.
Hmm.
So what I can see is I think and it's better in scope, right? So we have a really nice camera, but like, it's not like perfect doing things over the internet. But it looks like I have some kind of a distinct line going through the nucleus. Does that track with you what you see too?
Yep.
Yeah, so that's almost never like good. I would I would think that that's like a pretty strong indication of some kind of a malignancy. I also don't like these hole punches,
Hmm.
which look like the other cell has like a couple of these. I don't like that.
The lines almost look like there's like overlapping of lobes.
Yep, yep. So classic with um, acute promyelocytic leukemia that displays like a butterflying of the nucleus, you'll see this phenomena where they like the lobes kind of like overlap. Being a mononuclear cell as it is, it shouldn't have lobes that overlap.
Mm.
So yeah.
All right. Well, let's look around some more.
Yeah.
Because it's weird, because then it's like next to these cells where you're like, well, they just kind of look lymphy.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm looking at that one though.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I just don't like these. It's not just like normal striations.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I got a little less to say about the other two, even though this one got a couple of these things going on. Yeah,
But all in all, these three don't
suspicious.
look quite as ugly
No, they don't
as
jump
the
out
other
at me as
ones.
like bad. Yeah,
We actually have to look for details in the chromatin for these guys to
yeah.
say,
I-
well, because I saw this in those guys, I'm wondering.
and I think we're not seeing like
No.
blasts-ish chromatin patterns either. So I think that's notable. So I think so kind of cheating. I kind of knew what to expect on this slide. So I like to go in blind a lot of times, but I just happen to know what to expect. But I think it's important to start to like look and say, this looks like, if anything, like a mature neoplasm, if
Yep.
there's a cancer here.
Yep.
Um, so
Oh.
oh yeah. So yeah. So I hate this the difference in the chromatin coloration there. This is like just not good.
Yeah. It's like these bigger spready ones, like these, they just don't look right.
Right. It's like this like it's like something's just a little bit off, right?
Hmm. It's like you
Um,
have a good friend and you know how that friend is, but all of a sudden they're acting just a shade off so that if you don't know the person well enough, you might not notice it. But if you know them well, you're really good friend, you're gonna pick it out and you're gonna be like, that's not right.
I love that analogy because humans are like super good at picking up behavioral
Yeah.
cues without being able to like put your finger on it
Yeah.
necessarily. It's nothing that's like well defined, but like you're instinctively like you're picking up on a signal. So that's what's going on here with most of these cells is something just seems a little bit eh. Um, and then for me, every now and then now we're seeing a cell that is like that's completely abnormal.
Yeah.
So
And
yeah,
some of these guys have those white spots, like you were saying, there's one here, one there.
don't like
So
it.
we're starting to see those things more as well.
It's
Even
certainly
though,
not to the level of like a Burkitt's
no,
hole punch,
no,
but it's something it's a similar type of weirdness that I
yeah.
don't expect to not be there.
It's a malignant thing that you wouldn't expect to
Yep.
see in a normal cell.
Yep.
And if somebody looked at these cells who wasn't an experienced morphologist, they might just be like lymph.
Sure. Yeah. And
Fine.
I wouldn't blame,
No,
well,
no.
you know,
No, we can't really blame them yet because they're not good friends with the lymphs yet.
yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm okay with not being really good friends with limbs too, so.
I would hope that like diff reviewer level status, like this
Oh
would be
yes.
base competency where you'd be able
Well,
to assess. But
diff reviewer level, definitely.
yeah,
Ooh.
interesting. So this one has some weird staining in the cytoplasm, a little bit darker in some areas. And then the nucleus again, like that's not normal patterns to see.
No, abnormal shading. And I was thinking about it and I was wondering if it's just because it looks beat up, but I don't think so. I think the
Yeah.
shading in the nucleus is not right.
So yeah, when Melissa talks about beat up, there's something about when cells are in a fight, like an immune system. We use the terms fight, right? They're not actually fighting, but when like fighting an infection and reacting, they can look like they've been through a war. I got these analogies just keep coming. But yeah, this is like somewhat consistent now, right? So these weird kind of splotchy, like um yeah, I'm seeing this characteristic now amongst a lot of the different cells.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Okay.
troubling.
We'll keep going. See if we. Oh, hello.
So this is totally not normal. So yeah, I don't even know where to
Okay,
begin.
so I have a question about this one. Why is it not a mesothelial cell?
That's a great question, actually. Um, Geez, what an excellent question. So it even has like a fried egg kind of appearance.
I think the edges are too smooth though. Like it has that fried egg and that we have this darker ring around it. And then this center area we were talking about with our previous serous fluid that we did with lots of mesothelial cells. And we were saying how it couldn't be a plasma cell because this shaded area was too big.
Yeah,
And then we have that darker area. But I would expect this outside area to be a little bit more frayed if it was
yeah,
a mesothelial cell. Not always, but a little bit more frayed. I would expect the nucleus to be a little bit smaller,
yeah.
and
So
I wouldn't expect the nuclear chromatin pattern in the prominent nucleoli.
bingo. So the honestly, the biggest thing that tells me it's not a meso is that chromatin is completely inconsistent with a mesothelial cell. What it is consistent with, I couldn't tell you, but a mesothelial it is not. And only on your question, your line of questioning, it doesn't make me go oof, because I can see the cytoplasm. Someone would look at this, and you know, I'd be hard pressed to really fight it on any real level. Like it's because even sometimes like that blebbiness when it's torn away from maybe not might not be present.
Yep.
So yeah, that's tricky in that regard. But that nucleus though, right, Melissa?
Yeah.
That's just not mesonucleus.
No.
And then like what is it? Well, that nucleus isn't consistent. That chromatin isn't consistent with anything good.
Anything normal.
Yeah. Yep. That's a good way to put it, actually, normal rather than good and evil.
This is not an ethics podcast or a YouTube channel.
I'm really struggling today with my words. Yep. So that's a yikes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then, um, like these lymphs like look like more, yeah, like lymphs look like more like whatever, less concerned. Again, I'm still getting a little bit of these like these
Mm-hmm.
little couple dots here and there, but um, yeah,
They are less concerning other than the dots.
yeah,
And to be fair, maybe the dots are just the normal lymphs, and that's how they're dealing with whatever the whatever the pathophysiology is.
sure,
No, the normal lymphs are, I don't know, reacting that way.
yeah,
So we don't know. Morphologically, we can't say that this and this are the same thing.
yeah,
But
yeah.
what we can say is this is not normal.
Yeah, yeah. Yep. Yep. And so enumeration here might be a little bit tricky, especially given body fluid and cell distribution. That's why qualitatively, it's just the most important thing is just finding like, whoa,
Yep.
this looks pathological.
Right.
This needs to get escalated.
Well, the flow needs to be done because
Yeah,
flow is what's going to tell us if this and this are the same cell or not.
absolutely. Yep.
Because maybe they are. Or
Yeah.
probably not, but maybe.
Yeah. 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 I think that's another thing too, is more like people that are really all about like morphology and diffs can have a bit of an ego. Um, and it's a great skill set. I love doing it, but there's still a lot of subjectivity here, and having phenotyping, antibody
Right.
phenotyping, flow cytometry, it's just the way to go. Yeah.
Well, and I think the other thing that we all have to keep in mind is the morphology is only part of it.
Yes, absolutely.
We need the immunophenotyping, we need the cytogenetics, we need to look at the patient as a whole, especially now because the WHO classification system looks at the patient as a whole. So you really need all of the different pieces to really put it together and give a patient a diagnosis, a prognosis, and all of that. So I think for Us, we're just looking at specifically the morphology piece, and we're telling you, Dave and I are going to tell you what this is eventually. But it wasn't something that we looked at and we were like,
Yeah.
mm.
Yeah. Absolutely. Uh,
All right, let's see if we can find any more ugly things. The other tricky part with body fluids is they're all spread out, so you got to really search. And I
yeah.
think when we were talking about it on the lower magnifications, that's kind of what we were saying too, was that in this case, the ugly cells are not all bunched up together in a tumor ball. They're spread out, so we really have to go and search for them. I just wanted to point out this one's clefted,
Yep. Yeah, and that's
which
significant.
is
The
not
N
not
the N
usually normal.
the NC ratio too is not
Yeah.
great. Like
Right.
9-1 for a lymph. This is like 100-1 almost. Like being a little bit exaggerating, but
It's 1,000 to 1. Oh, now we're back to these busier. Oh, no, now we're gone. Oh, okay. Let's come over here.
hello. Yeah. So, where do we begin, right? I love talking about my nuclear contours. So, like, the most obviously pathological cell is the one on the right here. Um, this is not a mono. So why does it have this pleomorphic nuclei? And like, what is this little like finger thing? Like this is cancer. This is always cancer. Um, I would bet my life savings, every dime I have on this cell being cancer.
Mm.
That's how confident I am.
Yeah. And I
Uh,
think it's not a mono, so we'd expect to see the contours in a mono. And even in a body fluid where you don't have the perfectly round lymphocytic nuclei because they're getting smoshed against that slide during the cytospin process, you're not going to get this shape to the nucleus because of a cytospin.
yeah, yeah, this is wicked cancer.
It's wicked cancer.
So now, and then
It's
if I
not
could
just
shift this into New England, um, so this cell I actually would like to talk about a little bit too, because um, there's a lot of ugly stuff going on here. I think we could say with like high certainty there's a malignancy on the slide here. I don't know that this is necessarily a cancer cell. This could technically just be a reactive lymph reacting to the malignant insult, right?
Yep.
So I might classify that as a reactive lymph. I don't really know. I so like from a philosophical standpoint, approaching abnormal differentials, I like to, it's an innocent until proven guilty type situation. Once I find cancer, then I kind of flip it the other way, where like now you got to prove to me that you're normal. So I don't know, depending on which way the wind blows, what I would call that cell, but I think it's plausible that that could be a reactive lymph. I
Could
don't know.
be. And when I look at it, I get that same feeling about my friend.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it
something's
could
off.
also it could be malignant too, but again, we don't know. The other thing to keep in mind is when you're doing the diff, does it matter if that one cell is malignant or not?
Changes nothing about the clinical picture. Very
The
good.
the the clinical picture is still there's a malignancy.
Yep.
Whether there's 15% malignant cells or there's 5% or even 1% or 100%, it's showing us the same, well, the prognosis might matter, but the
Yeah.
diagnosis, it's not going to matter the percent.
Yep. Absolutely. That's a
And
great point.
flow is going to tell us what the percentage is anyway.
Honestly, and I don't think there's anything wrong with adjusting
Nope.
percentages or at least steering the clinician like, hey, we
Right.
reported this morphologically, but immunophenotyping 50%
Right.
population with X. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a good slide. We had some boring ones. This one's not boring.
This one is totally not boring. These limps, similar, like they look normal-ish.
Yeah.
But then I just get that feeling of there's something wrong with you.
Yeah. I like don't like that one. I have
No,
a
I don't like that one.
yeah. I'm and then like but like the one in the middle here is like you could be like I could this cell could be in another slide where I'm doing a monotonous diff and I count
Yep.
it as a lymph and don't
Yep.
even think twice about it, right? So
Well, I mean, even in this patient, I still might classify them
yeah,
as limbs. It
yeah,
could just be again that the normal lymphocytes are unhappy with the current situation in the body, and so they look slightly off too.
yeah. I don't like whatever that thing is. And there's stuff going on here.
Yeah.
And again, I think uh we get hung up as individuals like trying to get this percentage right. You know, the main work that's being done here is just noticing that there's something wrong, you know.
Can we recognize abnormal?
Yes.
Oh, there you are. Hello, handsome.
She says with so much irony, this is, this is completely abnormal chromatin. That is totally, what do you even call that? I don't even know that I could call that nucleoli or,
Oogly.
yeah, that's just bad. So
Yeah,
it's
he's
like
ugly.
it's like
Yeah.
three weirdly shaped nucleoli, like all stuck together, sort of.
It's
Yeah,
funny because it's like you have a thin nucleoli and then you've got a nucleoli in the center of the nucleoli. They're really ugly.
it's nucleoliception, right? This is the inception of nucleoli. It was just not. It's got some pretty staining too in the cytoplasm. That this blue kind of
Well, it looks almost
shades to it.
reactive. Look at how it's
Yeah.
grabbing
Yep.
and
Yep.
reaching like almost like a reactive lymphocyte would.
Yeah, and here you have like probably a mature lymphoid neoplasm, probably lymphoma, and it's like it's a cell that's like messed up and trying to do its job, sort of, right? It's just it's lost its way.
Well, now it's using its normal functions for
Or
evil.
evil, exactly. Yes. So we totally brought this back to comic books. We have this cancer's origin story coming together.
I mean, the other thing too is, we laugh when we talk about this, but the cells are pretty or interesting or nice to look at. And usually when the cells are interesting or pretty or nice to look at in hematology, it's a bad thing.
Yeah, almost always. Yeah.
Almost always. That's when the cells are, if you're like, wow, that's pretty, or you're like, ooh, then you know it's bad.
Yeah. The truth is we've looked at so many cells in our careers that the only thing that's even moderately interesting now, is the crazy stuff. I still love when students get excited about like EOs and stuff. Like it's hard for me to get excited about EOs nowadays.
I mean, sometimes it's gonna be like a really nice EO though.
Yeah. Yeah. It has to have something interesting about it that's good.
Yes.
But yeah, so this was a really good slide.
Yeah,
I like
and it was a lymphoma.
yeah,
So there's some normal cells, and then these are lymphoma cells.
yeah, pretty wild.
They are. Yeah. Cool. Well, I think that's all we've got for this slide. So thanks for watching.
Thank you for time.